Yes, good morning and welcome to Citizen Extra, the Ballot 2017 Thursday edition with me, Fred Indimuli. Now, even before the gazettement of their names as elected legislators, leave alone taking oath of office, a section of newly elected and re-elected members of parliament have already kicked up a storm by vowing to reject their new reduced pay as rolled out by the Salaries and Remunerations Commission. Now, to quote some of them, the plan is intended to demean them and reduce them to beggars. Kenyans, this push by MPs for better salaries is nothing new. Such previous attempts have put legislators and the electorate at loggerheads, yet the MPs always seem to emerge victorious, given the unanimity with which they pursue their benefits. Are we likely to see the same scenario this time round? Are we overly critical or unnecessarily tough in our assessment of what our legislators should be earning? That is one of our big discussions this morning. Meanwhile, away from the salaries headache, the other dilemma already facing the Houses of Parliament is how to achieve the elusive gender parity that is envisioned by the Constitution. Indeed, whether or not the 12th Parliament can go ahead and hold its first official sitting is a matter already before the courts. Given failure by the previous House to enact the law, we do understand the High Court will be giving its ruling on that matter today. Yet the fact is that the law has to be followed, and the number of women legislators in the 12th Parliament needs to be increased for the House to be properly constituted. How can we possibly achieve this? Meanwhile, even as the dust slowly settles following the August 8th general elections, politicians are already focusing on the 2022 political contests. Is the kind of change of tact and realignments that we are seeing any indication of how things could be 5 years down the line? We'll be trying to get answers to this. Right now, I'm privileged to have in studio Sandra Ochola, an advocate of the High Court, also a political analyst, David Osiani, a public policy expert, and Steve Gekonyo, a political strategist. They'll be helping us understand these issues, and of course we have to start with a big talking point today, and that has to do with the salaries for members of parliament, and that is the National Assembly and the Senate. Of course, yesterday, Gladys Wanga, this is the woman representative for Homa Bay County, came out, addressed the media with this regard. Remember that Gladys Wanga is a member of the Parliamentary Service Committee. Let's hear what she had to say.
If you look at the issue of mortgage, for example, the only people affected by that reduction is not the executive, it's only members of parliament. So SRC is unfairly targeting members of parliament in my view, and as the Parliamentary Service Commission, we will not stand by and watch SRC humiliate members and reduce members to beggars who are expected probably to go to the executive every Friday to go and beg for handouts for them to go to their constituencies. We will stand up for the rights of members of parliament and for what is rightfully ours. And what the public must understand is we are not saying increase our salaries, increase our allowances. We are demanding no increase. We are just saying do not reduce them in the manner that you are, particularly unfairly against the other arms of government.
She was not the only one who spoke out on that matter. Yesterday, Gathoni Wamushomba, who's the newly elected woman representative for Kiambu County, on a different station, actually came out and said that she needs to be paid well and she needs to be honored for who she is. We do not have that particular clip, but she was on the Power Breakfast show this morning and appeared to beat a hasty retreat given the kind of backlash that she has received from her online followers. Elsewhere, two newly elected members of the National Assembly have also spoken on this matter. One of them, the member of the National Assembly representing Nyali constituency, that's Mohammed Ali. We do have that particular post. Let's see what he had to say. And he says, I do not see the purpose of an increment without ensuring that we create a legal framework for our countrymen to generate income. Count my vote against this. We also had John Kiarie, who's the newly elected member for Dagoretti South, and this is what he had to say. Yes, and the Facebook post by KJ reads, be assured that I'm not against the SRC salary rationalization and recommendations for members of the National Assembly salaries. Now, those are just some of the views expressed by members of the National Assembly, most of them newly elected, but of course some of the most vocal have been re-elected, so they've had the chance to experience the previous remuneration, and now they're looking at something much less. And if I could just break it down, the SRC proposed a new pay structure for members of Parliament. So the salaries are going down from 710,000 shillings to 621,250. That's a difference of 88,750 shillings a month. Sitting allowances, because they were receiving sitting allowances every time they sat in the plenary. Yes, that has now been taken away. Mileage has been reduced. Instead, the SRC came up with a zoning formula whereby they will end up with much less. And this is a big one. Previously, members of the National Assembly and the Senate, once you get elected, you were to receive 5 million shillings as a grant just to go and buy a car. That is no longer there. Now they're eligible to a 7 million shillings loan, of course at 3% interest, which is not so bad. But surely, are we too unfair to our members of Parliament this time round, Sandra? Do you feel that we've been unfair? Obviously, a pay cut does not feel nice for anyone, and probably for the newly elected MPs who are yet to experience this, and we're talking about the likes of KJ, John Kiarie, who's just been elected, Muhammad Ali, who's just been elected. They may not feel the pinch, but for people like Gladys Wanga and other members of Parliament who've been there for the past 5, 10, 15 years or so, will actually feel the pinch.
I'd say yes and no. And my no is because the wage bill is high, and it's something that we've talked about even with the previous regimes, where they say we are paying so much money. Half of the taxpayers' money is being used to pay salaries, which is not good for any country that intends to move forward as far as development is concerned. And so that was one of the purposes why the Constitution, one, it has the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and two, giving the Commission a mandate to ensure that everyone is at a level playing field as far as salaries are concerned, so that you are paid. There's value for money from a taxpayer's perspective, and second, there's also a sense of equality. And so under that process, you come to realize that the heart, the spirit and letter of the Constitution is in a good place. The intention of the SRC and its mandate is also in a good place. So that is the no part, because there's a bigger picture towards it. The yes aspect for me comes in, and we are discussing this with David before we started the show, in terms of citizens' expectations on the members of Parliament, because while they might not say it out loud, there are certain instances where you've had them stating that being a member of Parliament, representing individuals, is a very, very tough and very, very demanding exercise, because it is on that salary, the money you are getting, that then again you're expected to go undertake certain duties or privileges on the ground. For instance, when you go to back to your constituency expect you, oh, there's a harambe, you need to give this, there's a hospital this, there's a garage this. So there are a lot of demands and a lot of pressure from the members of Parliament. So most of them say that the money we are getting, our salary is part of it, but then we're also using that money to ensure that we are catering to the needs and wants of the electorate. So perhaps moving forward, I think they need to look at it from both ends, where we have the bigger picture as far as managing our wage bill, but then we are also coming to an understanding of what we expect from MPs, so that we are not putting pressure on them, and they are not more or less trying to pay us back for the demands that we put on them as well.
Yes, and David, of course, if you are to calculate the amount of money that members of the National Assembly, for example, were receiving every end of month, it was more than the 710,000 because of the allowances. And the allowances are because every sitting of Parliament, every member who's present was eligible for 5,000 to get 5,000 shillings for that sitting alone as an allowance. If you calculate about 4 sessions every week, that comes to about 80,000 a month, plus mileage, plus this car grant, plus all these things. Now, if you take all that away and you reduce the salary, it means the members of Parliament who previously could do so much, they were earning more than 1 million shillings collectively. Now you've taken away almost half of it.
You know, I come from a peculiar background of having run for office, and so I know the pressures that members of Parliament go through. And the pressures they go through are predicated on the problem of poverty. So because people are poor, what they can reach within sight is the member of parliament who they believe is very rich. So for them, that is the problem solver. So whenever the member of parliament steps home, even the aspirant, the thing is, they will flock home. You remember your coffee giving 5,000 in a harambe and being told, what joke is this? That's the psyche of our citizenry, which is a very wrong psyche. But it's very hard to fix until we are able to empower the citizenry, economically. Without money in hand, they have to depend on where to get their daily bread. However, it is for that same reason of poverty that our members of parliament must be able to sacrifice. For the same reason that there is poverty and having people at their doorsteps taking an 88,000 pay cut is not too much to ask of them. Maybe it would come to 200,000 at the end of the month when the packs are taken off.
No, it's actually a lot more. It's like 400,000.
That's fine, because we have a poor citizenry. We cannot afford largesse and luxury when we have our poor citizens to take care of. The wage bill is ballooning, and that's got to be managed. When the members of parliament, for example, say that they've been given, they want and they demand 5 million, and they usually take SRC through hell, because SRC will show up and their budget will be trimmed down, so have a pinch of what we are feeling just to try and cripple SRC. When you demand for 5 million of a car grant, and it's beautiful and it's nice, everyone would want to have it. My selfish instincts would want me to have it. Why would we want free? What is it that the members of parliament do for their people for free? You've been given a deal of 7 million, which can even get you 2 cars, to pay it at 3%. 3%. When banks here will have you pay 17%.
It's the fact that you have to pay back that money.
You have to pay it back. It is the best practice worldwide. Go to Rwanda. You made a cabinet secretary, let alone being a member of parliament. A cabinet secretary. There's no car for free. You're going to be given a car that you have to pay back. And when you go to some of these countries, when Rwanda has members of cabinet and parliament going for a retreat, for example, they put them in buses and have chase cars at the beginning and at the end.
But probably
for us, we all go, one cabinet secretary will show up in a meeting with 4 chase cars.
Yes.
It's wastage. So we have to take a very, we have to take a balance here. Sarah Serem did not have that salary. And I know how painful it is, Freddie, to come here. You were earning so much yesterday, then now you're coming to a new
If you
thing.
were to cut my salary by half, I would complain.
Yes, but if you were to take a hit, and it has been rationalized, and you've been told, made to understand, that we are doing this for these purposes, then honestly, with the doctors earning so little, the nurses still on strike at home, the lecturers saying that they're about to go to strike, and more than ever, this is when the president has to stand up and show that he has a tyranny of numbers and wade through this. If he doesn't, then it was all a hoax.
It will be a very interesting test.
It's going to be a very interesting
tyranny
test.
of numbers, because you're still using the same tyranny. Marshalling it to go against itself is something totally different. But Steve, surely we must be blamed to some extent. We must take the blame as Kenya, and Kenyans probably we've spoiled our elected and appointed leaders by giving them so much. Then at some point we're saying, hey, okay, it's too much of a burden, let's take some away. Surely, if at all we had started this way from way back, it would not be a problem. When Ostiani is talking about Rwanda, I'm sure they must have started that way. It's not that they were earning more and now they're earning less. But now we're looking at a situation where our legislators were earning more, now we are demanding for them to earn less. Surely we must take the blame as well.
Yes and no. One, there's an expectation that you have to be wealthy or appear to be wealthy if you're going to be our MP. Very seldom do we elect people who are not appearing to be wealthy. The other, there's an expectation that you're going to do well once you get elected. And therefore, it becomes a little difficult for an MP to come in and still remain poor in the sight of his constituents. But I think the bigger problem is for those who've been re-elected, reducing their pay. because that goes even into the Bill of Rights.
Yes.
You're supposed to be kept whole. The Constitution is not supposed to, or the law is not supposed to make you earn less, if you will, because they were not, or they did not sign up to that before they went into the elections. So I think for SRC, they'll have to make that fine balance of saying, okay, if you are re-elected and this was your salary, then perhaps there's a consideration there. But for the new guys, the new MPs coming in, they have to face the music.
Like now you're suggesting, and I've seen some of that in some of the dailies, even one of those members of parliament said that anyone who has been there previously and got to enjoy the previous salary should continue the same way. So if at all they were receiving a 5 million shilling grant, they should continue, but the new members should not be eligible to that. Surely, can that really work?
It doesn't sound right, and there will be arguments from the other side.
It doesn't sound right at all.
Yeah, there will be arguments from the other side that, you know, we're doing the same sittings, we're in the same committees, yet we're earning less. So that's a battle that's going to be seen. I think we've experienced, our MPs are very good at, our members are very good at going back and, you know, and fighting back, and I think we'll see that they could very well win this battle and have their salaries back. Okay.
Even as we continue this discussion, there's something very interesting happening at the KICC. The government is holding an exhibition. You remember the ban on plastics takes effect starting Monday, the 28th of this month. Now there's an exhibition going down currently at the KICC where the government is actually exhibiting the options that we do have, what kind of material can be used in place of plastic bags. Our reporter Marcy Kandiye is there. If we do have Marcy right now, let's get her live. A very good morning to you, Marcy. How interesting to hear what's happening at the KICC. Can you break it down for us?
Yes, indeed, Fred. Remember, it's just days before that ban is effected, and Kenyans will no longer be able to use plastic paper bags. What we are told is for the good, and what you should believe, it's actually for the good of even the future generations. As the plastic ban is being effected, what you can see is currently happening here is that the CS for Environment and stakeholders and also NEMA is having a discussion with members of the public, their concerns, what they have, are going to be heard on this particular platform, so that in case they have anything to ask in terms of the way forward come Monday, what will they be able to do. But even for our viewers right now, I'm joined on set by the Deputy Director of NEMA, Dr. Mamo. Thank you for being with us today. If you could tell the audience at home, in fact, yesterday we were with some of the residents. They call themselves the small traders, Mama Mboga, Mama Supu, Mama Githeri. And most of their concerns is that come Monday, most of them don't know where to buy the alternatives. Some of them come to make their way up to KICC. What are the options for them?
Thank you, Marcy. I think the reason why we had this exhibition is to ensure that we invite the public to come over and see the alternatives that the manufacturers are giving out. So today is an opportunity for them to come here and look at those alternatives.
Speaking of alternatives, I've seen there's Kiondo, and we'll probably walk to that particular exhibitor who's selling the Kiondo now. But what happens to the people wa mjengo, if you could make it even more mwananchi friendly terms? They talk about karatasi ya kaki, you know, what they can wrap with vegetables. But what happens to Githeri, Supu, you know, and they say that their businesses solely rely on these plastic paper bags?
Thank you, Marcy. I think we said the ban looks at only two categories of the ban. We have the carrier bag and the flat bag. Still, the plastic bottles are still in the environment, still with the manufacturers. If you go to most of the supermarkets, they're still getting milk from a dispenser in bottles. So there's still alternatives to the mamas and the babas. Yes.
Perfect. And probably what would be your way forward? I know you're in charge of education and educating the masses, especially about how to move forward come Monday. What are the measures that you're taking even to the mwananchi in the slum, in the residential areas, to ensure that this is not fought from the ground but people actually embrace the plastic ban?
Thank you, Marcy. I think we will continue having public education. We'll continue engaging people at the community level. We are using FM stations, local stations. We are on TV. I'm right away from KBC's radio station this morning. And we'll continue engaging institutions, public, ensure that they understand as we implement this in partnership with county government.
Thank you very much. Probably just even as I let you go, maybe one final pointer to what would you tell Kenyans, because many are thinking that probably it could be political and others are saying, oh, their businesses can't survive. But as NEMA, how important is it, even for the people watching at home, that this should be effected?
I think NEMA is working for the good of the public. We want to live in a clean and healthy environment. And what we are saying, kindly stop this throw-away culture. Ensure that you look after environment. This is our environment. It is our life and our responsibility for all of us. So I want to tell the public, come on board, let's work together and ensure that we live in a clean and healthy environment for all of us.
And finally, I've seen some of the people selling kiondo. Some are saying that it could be expensive. Is there a way that people would be subsidized in terms of, even as they embrace this new change?
And I think as they embrace this new change, with the mass production, I think the price will come down. What we see now is a teething problem. I think with time, with the mass production, we'll be able to have it come down in terms of price.
Mamo, Deputy Director NEMA, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for even giving us those clarification. In Dimuli, probably if we could just take a walk with Madenge, my cameraman, is that an exhibition is currently happening. What you can see is that various exhibitors are trying to showcase what they have, the varieties that they have. Labda utuambie majina yako, na naona uko na options za kubeba plastic paper bags. Utuambie zinaitwa aje, na ni watu wanaweza zipata aje, na ni how much?
Yeah. Jina langu naitwa Elizabeth Nzilani. Nafanya nalea toto nyumbani, but in different centers. Tunadili na watoto wenye wameathirika na virusi, na huwa tunafundisha caregivers njia za kujitegemea, ambapo kuna wakati walikuwa wamekaa maisha ya kwamba ni kama they are useless, but tukaendelea kuwafundisha ya kwamba wao ni binadamu kama wale wengine, hata kama wameathirika, they have strength.
Na naona hii ni opportunity ya nyinyi ku, you know, make something small to support the women, yes, through the bags to well, yes, and the children. If you could show us labda bag moja, naona hii inakaa kuenda soko. Unaweza tuambia bag moja ni ngapi na inatumika vipi?
Ziko tofauti tofauti. Tuko na hizi type ya husi, tuna make any type of bags. Tuko na hizi type ya, hizi ni makaratasi, tumetengeneza na makaratasi. Kuna vile huwa tuna roll, tunatumia rangi fulani, tuna soku ndani, hata ikinyeshewa haiwezi kuharibika. Tuko na type ya beans. This is beans. We buy them, we make them ourselves, na tunauza. Watoto hawalali njaa, wamama hawategemei kusaidiwa na program.
So watu wakinunua hizi pia wajue that they are supporting the children and the women.
Support the children and the women. Wale ambao wameathirika na virusi wako na bidii ya kufanya. Wakati ule makaratasi ilikuwa inatumika, sisi tuko based sana slums. Kwa maslums,
watu wa slums,
Mukuru, Kibera, wapi, tuko huko kote. So wakati ule papers zilikuwa zikitoka kwa kampuni wameenda kundampu. Wamama huwa tunaenda huko kwa chombo, tunaitanga chombo. Tunachukua papers, tuna recycle, tuna make different type of basket.
So hii imeundwa na plastic.
Hii ni plastic. Zile ambao walikuwa wanatupa, tunaona asikiwa kama mishipi zinasumbua, haiwezi ikaribika haraka. So tunaenda tuna recycle, tunatengeneza kitu ambayo inaweza saidia wamama. Haija cost pesa mingi kwenda kuokota, tu ni kuokota, uchofu ni kushona, tuna make.
Hii ngapi? Mtu anaweza pata ngapi akikuwa Kibraia anapata na how much?
Hii tunauza na 500, lakini inaenda na sizes. Kuna small size, kuna big size ya 1000, kuna ya 8000, zinaenda na sizes. We also make with sisos. Hii inatengenezwa na siso fibers, tunatengeneza, hii inaenda na 1000. Tunatumia hii pia ni siso but tuna make na the other threats. Yeah.
Thank you very much. As you see, Fred, and groups are actually taking advantage of this ban, and people are using it even as an opportunity to even better communities. You see, that's just one example of how the ban is having a ripple effect. But if I could show you another interesting exhibit here, is what probably Kenyans are very particular, you know, they know it a lot in terms of it's called a kiondo, and you can see what is being exhibited here at the KICC, Fred, is at different designs. I mean, if you probably are more fashion sensitive and you would probably want something that's a bit modern, then you would have a variety to go to the supermarket with, or to go to the market to buy your vegetables and put them inside here. So let me just briefly talk to the person in charge. Labda utueleze majina yako. Na naona viondo uko nazo.
Hapa niko na viondo mingi sana. Colors mingi, designs mingi, and niko na everything. Yeah. Labda watu nyumbani wanataka kujua kiondo mtu akitaka kununua ni ngapi, ni how much. Naona kuna zile hata mpaka naona made in Kenya. Yeah. Yes, tunaweza zipata na how much? Kiondo zinaendanga na design yake, na vile kiondo ni kubwa, ni dogo, naendanga na bei yake. Labda tukianza utuoneshe labda zile, because the ban of plastic paper bags dhuru sana sana wale ambao wamezoea kuzibeba wakienda supermarket, wakienda sokoni. Options ambazo unaweza patia wa Kenya ni zipi from what we have here? Wanunue baskets au wanaweka. Gani ni ya soko, gani tuoneshe? Hii ni ya soko, hii ni ya soko, hii tena ni ya soko. Na ni how much hizo? Hii ni 100, hii ni 700, hii ni 500. Na hiyo pia unaweza tumia hii unaweza tumia kwa soko, kwenda mahali kubeba vitu yako, kuweka nguo, yani kuna kazi mingi. Na naona ni zile ambazo unlike ukitumia mara moja na unatupa, unaweza tumia for a very long time. How long can this last? Hii huwa inakaa kwa muda gani? Inaweza kaa miaka 10, miaka 6, miaka 7. It depends. Asante sana. So there you have it, Fred. See, the bags he's saying that can last even 10 years, depending on even how you use it and how you take care of it. So if you're at home and you don't have anything to do, find your way to the KICC and see for yourself the variety that Kenyans have in terms of the plastic ban being effected from Monday. Because remember, from Monday that ban will be effected and it will be against the law. Keep it Citizen TV for more information in terms of even as Kenya takes this step to make the environment even better for the future generation. Indimuli.
Thank you, Masi Kandir there at Tanui, live from the KICC, where an exhibition is currently going down. The government trying to showcase some of the alternatives to the plastic bags. Remember, the ban on plastic bags takes effect from 28th of this month. That's Monday. And after that, anyone found with those bags will have to incur heavy penalties. So it is important that you prepare yourself. Yes, of course, Masi Kandir will be filing a more comprehensive report on the goings on from that. And back to our discussion here, ladies and gentlemen, of course, probably you should also try and get some of those kiondos. I can picture David carrying one. It looks good.
It's good for our environment.
It is definitely good for
people wonder how we are surviving. Other countries survive without this plastic bag. Yes. So we will survive.
And I'm sure the alternatives are a lot more. It's not just the issue on those. Yeah. So probably you don't need to get worried. I'm sure there are other alternatives as well. And we'll be looking at those. But back to our discussion about the salaries for MPs. And Steve had just suggested that what do I call it, stratified method, where probably the members who've been there longer, have served 1-2 terms and got to enjoy previous packs, could continue, or probably should continue with that. So one member who's been there should be earning the sitting allowance, but this newly elected member should not. Is that what you're saying? Is that even workable?
No, I don't think that is workable. I think one of the propositions that was made in the previous parliament that I think is very viable, where the MP I had really looked forward to take over from, Honorable Dalma Sotieno, which I think is very viable, was that SRC should have frozen the salaries where they were because of the inflation. All right, inflation is going up 7% annually. So if you freeze the salaries where they are, he had proposed that with the time they will be overtaken by events. All right, so just freeze it. 5 years from now, the needs will be much more. The inflation will have taken over. Things will be more expensive, and naturally we'll have achieved more or less the same thing. Okay, and that's why sometimes I think this debate, you know, that sometimes it's also over dramatized. What are we saving? The question is, what are we saving? It's minuscule.
It's 8.8 billion shillings according to the
when we are losing 600 billion to corruption. So if we decided to crack the whip on corruption, to even try and remedy half of it,
then Kenyans would be generally
you will have saved 300 billion. And you will be able to do all
pay
this.
better.
Pay better to all the sectors, even to the lowest cadre of workers. So I think sometimes it's over dramatized.
Do you agree, Sandra, that we're over dramatizing this? That it's not that much? Is it really?
Truly, what we are saving, it's going to be a lot of money. But now the question is, what is it going to be used for? Are the common people going to see it mature into goods and services? Because I think that's the same conversation we'll have even with our taxes. You are going to cut thousands and thousands of shillings from my tax, but if I'm not going to see it benefiting me in one way or the other, then I have very good reason to complain. So I think it's also from a general perspective, in that if you're going to talk about sacrifice, and you have the MP saying, fine, I'm going to sacrifice this much, but then it's going to lessen the burden I have in terms of providing services to the people that I lead, then I think that's where you have that fruitful conversations and the middle ground.
Yes. It's also just about the communal role of members of parliament. You know, the communities we come from sees people as leaders. So it's not about just being an MP. When you go to your community, Freddie, today, you are seen as a leader. So when a church is being built, you're not the MP, but you will be invited as a leader because they too are contributing. But the member of parliament is the ultimate leader. So as the branch manager brings 5,000, the people look at him in a different perspective.
And it is that definition of the role that a member of the National Assembly, for example, plays that we probably should have a problem with. That we've created a different role than from what was envisaged for the member of the National Assembly, from simply legislation and oversight to this fundraiser for the community.
It's not
to this donor for the community, such that the job that we've given the legislators, they do not end up doing it. They're busy throwing money around at the problems they encounter at the constituency level, instead of actually trying to better the lives through legislation and oversight of other organs that are supposed to be working. They end up digging deep into their own pockets to throw money at the problem, which is counterproductive. It is going nowhere. Don't you think, Steve?
I agree. And but one of the arguments that when an MP makes that argument, I don't quite agree with it. That, you know, I need my salary because I'm giving so much to my community. I really doubt that MPs are spending money out of their pocket for their communities. They're having to find other sources of funds to support the fundraisers, to support the sick child in the constituency and so on. But that is not the argument to make in terms of their salaries. However, there's the concept of grandfathering. If you've been re-elected and you had, like we discussed earlier, and you've had a salary expectation and you are not asked to agree to that salary expectation, then there's a legal issue there that has to be addressed before it can be reduced. For the newcomers, this is the deal, take it or leave it.
Yes.
You know, if you don't like it, go home.
So you actually think it's something that can be challenged in a court of law?
I believe so.
By those who've been re-elected, those who got to enjoy the perks previously?
I believe so.
I don't buy Steve's idea that the previous members who are earning at that rate should keep earning that rate and the new ones take or leave, because then what would be the justification? I am a member of parliament as she is or as he is. Why are you going to pay me little and pay him more regardless? If you find that what they were earning is commensurate to what the job they were doing, the roles have not changed. At least the constitution hasn't changed the mandate of a member of parliament. So dealing with that way would be a little problematic.
I think I'm talking more on the base salary. On the allowances and so on, that can be static. This is what you get for going to your constituency. This is what you get for your sitting allowances in committees. But on the salary basics, I agree with SRC But I think we'll see these arguments come in. We'll see the concept of grandfathering coming in, saying this is what I was earning. I didn't get notice that it would be reduced. I went into the campaign and came back. You know, so we'll see them go and make those arguments.
And look at it this way, because you've tried to run for member of the National Assembly, and I know you spent quite a lot in your campaigns. Is it a figure that you have in mind that you can tell us this is how much I spent?
Well, I may not be able to put it, but it was well upwards of, you know, I mean, tens of millions, really.
Yes.
It's quite expensive to go out on the campaign trail and do the campaigns. And again, it gets back to what I was saying. How we are, the psyche, the communal psyche, the psyche of the community, and this comes from way back before you're even elected, all right? They see their sons and daughters who, in their opinion, are leaders. When we go to build a church, for example, it's not like the member of parliament is the only one contributing. You appreciate that the community contributes because they're building the church. However, because they have leaders, and it's not only the MP, their son who is a pilot, their son who is an engineer, their daughter who is, you know, a bank manager or a great lawyer, those are leaders in the community. The pressure is on them. Because it is twice as much on the member of parliament, because then they have entrusted him as a leader so much they have elected him.
Because let's say you spent roughly between 15 to 20 million shillings.
Yes.
The much you hope to earn from your salary as a member of the National Assembly, the reduced salary right now, 621,000 without the allowances, because the allowances have all been done away with. Forget about the mileage, because you will spend it actually going to the constituency. It's all at 7 million shillings. But in the 5 years, previously, you were earning close to 1 million shillings per month. That will go to about 60 million shillings. That's a huge difference. Compared to the amount you've already spent in your campaigns, does it really make sense for anyone?
Freddie, I don't want us to believe that the salary is the basis of livelihood for MPs. That's why young businessmen take a loan of 500,000, and out of that loan of 500,000 start a business that in 3, 4, 5 years is able to generate more than 10 million shillings. So the MPs, if they are brilliant,
for you it was an investment when you go out to campaign. Whatever you spend, that was an investment that you hope to make back.
Not necessarily. It's a pursuit for the, you know, for trying to get to a point where I can be of service to my people, where I can bring my perspective and paradigm into leadership, all right? But that does not mean that that will be my entire salary. If I am paid 620,000, Freddie, I assure you that if I get an ingenious young boy or girl today, and I gave him 600,000 to invest in a business, even buying bags from Kampala and selling them in the country, that boy by the end of the year will have made back more than that, all right? So if you gave him this every month to invest, the person should be able to do business and therefore get the money back. So it's not that the belief that if this is it, this is all you make, so how are you going to campaign with about 20 million when you only make that?
But don't you think that this opens up members of the National Assembly to a lot of corruption? Because lobbyists and lobbying is a real thing, and committees of parliament have been accused of accepting money and just being rent seekers, if I may use that phrase. Yes, but don't you think that reducing further their salaries, because now even sitting in a committee of parliament, there's no allowance. Yes?
True. And we can talk about it here in all the flowery terms, but the point still remains that it's going to be very hard to pinpoint exactly what comes first, the chicken or the egg, what comes up first, the demands of the people vis-a-vis that of the MPs. Because from where we sit, we are taking from a very academic perspective. But you listen to a member of parliament, he or she is going to say, the people I need to cater to are my constituents. So we are going to have all this talk, but then for him, he's going to be required to be accountable to the people. And accountability in this perspective means participating, as David has said, participating in fundraisers, participating in paying hospital bills and funerals and whatnot. So I think the biggest issue we need to look into is our relationship, our collective relationship with money, and our collective perception of what leadership is, so that are we seeing leaders as sources of
problem solvers,
as opposed to people who are going to give us a particular service, or are we seeing them as individuals whom we've taken there with a particular mandate to...
But we could also look at it as a job. Simple. The same way I would go out and look for a job as a CEO somewhere or an MD somewhere.
Sure.
Is the same way these legislators are going out to look for a job. Surely it should be able to pay them back. They should be able to earn a living and actually...
comfortably.
Yes. And fend for their families as well.
Yeah, I do agree, and I think David read something very important in terms of how much do they use during campaigns, and it still, for me, it still boils down to the chicken before the eggs, because if I'm expected to have this very flamboyant campaign for me to get elected, I'm expected to give money, you know, during this campaign period, and I'm spending my resources. So ideally, even for you at a personal perspective, you're putting, when you put your money in a particular place, you expect particular returns. So I'm investing in this, knowing too well that when I get to that place, I'm going to get back what I have. So it's a psyche,
and it's the intention of these people who actually seek these positions that I'm more worried about. I remember hosting one of the people who was not successful during the party nominations, and he told me on air that he had actually spent 28 million shillings, yet he was still unsuccessful. If at all he had been successful and got that particular party's ticket, he would have spent even more, conducting now the main campaign for election. Surely, you want to tell me that I can go out and spend 60 million shillings because I'm seeking to serve my people?
Well, sometimes I think people are driven by different things. Obama had the most expensive campaign, and it wasn't from his pocket. I ran a campaign, and friends stood with me, just like you and others, all right, and believed in what I represented at least. So sometimes it's not from your own pocket. Most of the time it will be from friends. However, could it be that it's time we talked about teaching our members how to manage their resources and how to use their resources to bring more income for them? Because if this continues, then that's how we end up with members who are very, doing very badly after their term, because they spent their all on the people. And the electorate is a very thankless group of people. All right, so you may end up spending all you care, and that's why most of them even do the first time, because of the financial pressures they can't cope with. And some of them are just not gifted. And doing business, for example, is a talent. It's not for everyone. So as you rightly put it, some go there and their salary is their all. It's their entire source of income for their children to live better and comfortably. But when all is said and done, it's about dealing with the psyche of the people. Because again, the reason I sometimes empathize with what some of these MPs say, if you reduce the salary by 10% and you have inflation at 7%, the total loss for this person is 17%. The demands are continuing to soar, so you're not like it's not like you have dealt with it, and that makes for the call for a country that understands, a citizenry that understands the role of the leaders, but for our devolved units as well as the government itself to try and ensure that we are a little more economically empowered. And empowered people who have money in their pockets do not go to beg.
But just before we go on a break, Steve, leadership is a very lucrative business in Kenya. Let's be honest. That's why we had over 14,000 people aspiring for less than 2,000 jobs that we have. People spending millions. I highly doubt that all this 14,000, 15,000 plus were just willing to sacrifice for the sake of the people they want to lead. It is very lucrative. Are we not to question the intention of our leaders or the people who are coming into power?
I think sometimes the concept of running comes from a desire to serve.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Not all the time.
Not most of the time.
For some people, they have different intentions, different agendas, and so on. But the position of leadership is one to be coveted in this country and elsewhere. Because one, the concept of being a mheshimiwa, being saluted everywhere you go, that can be quite addictive, and it's a good thing. However, what happens is that we want our leaders to have that money, but at the same time, once they get in there, we think they're cheating us. So the intention is good. Those who are influential once they get in there, who harness their leadership abilities, do well. Those who thought that they were going to make some money somehow without a plan, do badly. So once you get in there, I think the idea or the strategy is to get re-elected, so that you continue having influence and you continue building networks that will help you to do those great things. Leadership is not about one person. It's about the network. Even those who sponsor you, there's something to give back. Perhaps even that road that goes in your constituency, they get that more readily than otherwise. So it's a matter of reaching out to the, various people and bring them in to help you with your leadership objectives.
And you asked a question that I don't think we've adequately addressed, what such a situation portends on matters fighting corruption. And as you've talked about it, you have people sponsoring your campaign, you have ends that your particular financial ends that you need to meet. With expectations. So the idea will be, I'm sponsoring your campaign, giving you this much money, but the moment you get to power, there are certain tenders and contracts that I'm expecting from you. So you get to office and you're under siege. And all those things you promised people, that I'm going to be open, I'm going to give people equal opportunities.
Because if I find your campaign, David,
yes,
of course I'll expect something back.
I'll expect something back. And we've also seen this, how it keeps them susceptible to corruption, even within the house, and given the relationship with the executive, where because you don't have enough for you to sustain, you are in need or in want of certain obligations to meet. So they dangle carrots before you, and they say, okay, now let us support this bill. How much will it be? Because for you now, it's no longer about service. There are more intimate demands and intimate needs that you want to fulfill, as opposed to doing exactly what took you to Parliament. So yes, it has a role to play.
David, I know you want to respond, but hold that thought. It's time for us to take a break. The question is, are we really overly critical or unnecessarily tough in our assessment of what legislators should be earning? We'll continue this discussion on Citizen Extra, the Ballot 2017 edition, where we continue to discuss many issues surrounding the just concluded elections. We'll discuss more after the break.